Good morning. It's like 4 a.m. and it's my quiet time each morning with my coffee. And I was thinking about coherence, which I often think about. And I was doing my morning pages. And if you're not familiar with morning pages, it's from the book The Artist's Way. I did it like 24 years ago, back in 2002, and it came into my awareness again, so I'm doing it again. You write a few pages every morning. So anyway, I have introduced that back into my morning time. There's a cat over here. And so naturally, I write about the things that are generally on my mind, and what I was writing about this morning was more about coherence, and like an analogy came up that I really love. I've probably heard it somewhere, took it into my subconscious, and I'm spitting it back out in my own way. Hi, this is Jelly Bean. Say good morning. He did. He went, Mah. So here it is, because I want to be able to refine it and see if it rings true for you and the people I interact with. I want to see if it translates or transmits. So I think of coherence not as a measure of something that can grow in size, like oh, the more coherent I am, the bigger number I feel on this scale. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something you can weigh or see get larger in ways that we like to measure things as humans. You know, it's like, oh, I got to see it growing before my eyes. I don't think of coherence like that. Not as some like, oh, let's track on a linear, especially not linear, but line or graph or scale. And I don't think of it like that. I was like, well, what feels more true to me is like we are each our body of water. If you want to think of us like our own little pond, lake, ocean, you know, whatever you like, whatever you want to be. I feel like some days I'm different things. Like some days I feel like a serene little pond, you know. Some days I feel more like a big lake that I can explore, and some days I might feel like a body, like a sea. Maybe not the ocean, maybe that's too big, but something that has borders, containment, that's the word. So, but maybe it would work for an ocean too. I don't know. We'll explore that later. And I feel like coherence might be more like a quality that we can sense or see with our eyes, you know, on the surface of that body of water. The quality of any ripples, the quality of stillness or unstillness on the surface of the water. Like when you drop a pebble or a rock, whatever size of stimulus, like in this analogy, it would be a rock. I drop a rock into the body of water and it creates ripples. The size of the rock combined with what's going on beneath the surface might create a different quality of ripple and influence how quickly those ripples settle back into a serene glass-like surface, you know. And so I'm sure you've already connected the dots on how I'm thinking about this, but it's like when I say the rock and then the quality of the body of water, like what's in the depths, Is it pretty clear down there? Or is there a lot of silt, seaweed? I don't know yet. I haven't thought about that part too much. But like the rock being the stimulus that comes from the outside, those things we can't control, right? To some extent, we can remove ourselves from situations, like put ourselves in more serene situations. That's only part of the puzzle, though. There's always going to be something coming in at us from the outside. But what we do have influence over is like how clean or clear our body of water is. Maybe we can help dredge up the silt, remove all the tangly seaweed. Although I like seaweed, it should be in the water, right? So this isn't a perfect analogy yet. But you know what I mean? Like, have we even explored what's down there? So that we can say, okay, seaweed, you can stay because you have a way of like flowing with any disturbance, you know? I like that better. And so the quality of the ripples on the surface of our body of water really rings more true for me in terms of like, how quickly will those ripples settle? Am I going to keep adding disturbance to the ripples? Like when I look at the ripples and I'm like, oh my God, there's ripples. That doesn't feel good. And then that's like me dropping in more rocks, creating more ripples that then run into the other ripples and clash or become bigger and just keep going and going. It's like the second arrow analogy. We won't talk about it because I'm not good at it, but you know, the first insult, the first wound is the first rock that was dropped. And then our ego mind gets involved and slings a lot of secondary arrows, doesn't it? But okay, I went there. But what's going on beneath our surface? Have we explored what's down there? And if we haven't, how does that quality of body of water either more easily or uneasily allow those ripples to settle? Or how many more rocks are we dropping in, adding to the disturbance? I like this analogy because I like water. I'm a water sign. I'm Cancer. But I also like the idea of frequency and disturbance and antenna, you know, and picking up signals. That's kind of a different analogy, though. We'll go there. I'm developing that one in my own way. Obviously, these exist out there in the world. I'm just kind of exploring my own take on these things as my own feelings evolve. But yeah, that's what I feel about coherence right now that feels really true, is like we may not be able to have much influence over the rocks, the size of the rocks, the boulders, the pebbles that are being dropped into our contained body of water. But we do have influence over how quickly, like the quality of those ripples and how quickly they are allowed to settle. And that's where this idea of allowing is really important to me. Like, it is the opposite of resistance. If you think of resistance on one end of a spectrum, I love spectrums, and allowing on the other end, that's one way to view that spectrum. I'm kind of like usually focusing on when I feel a sensation in my body of water. Does it feel like resistance? And if so, how can I move toward the allowing part of the spectrum instead of adding more resistance, dropping more rocks into my body of water by focusing on it and being like, you shouldn't be here. Stop feeling resistance. Isn't that adding more resistance? Sometimes I say it's like injecting more chaos into the system, but in this analogy, it's like dropping more rocks in. So I always think about how can I nudge more toward the allowing state of the spectrum. And sometimes they are little nudges. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's a challenge to sit with, to be with. That to me means allow, to meet ourselves in the disturbance and say, I'm with you. We're going to ride this out. We're going to feel it fully and let our ripples come back to a serene, glass-like surface of the water where we're like taking in the sunlight and reflecting it back to those who see us. I just got all the chills. Have a good day.